Every time I do these fuel injectors, I have to replace seals. It's very delicate. Maybe it wouldn't be so delicate if, well, hey, car sits for a couple weeks, there's no fuel pressure. That's nice. Oh, well, the injectors are still staying in place. A couple of 10 millimeters to pull. Oh, that normally I have to pull, but that's already off of the valve cover. And now I'm losing stuff. Okay, this is a bracket down here. It's for this to clip into. So that goes with that one. They're about to close up the shop, so I probably have to get going myself. But yeah, see? Did not drop a valve, not a single one. Reacting with horn honks. I'm wishing I had my 3/8 ratchet from Matco, but I had to warranty it because I did too hard of a bolt on it with it out on accident and realized it had Loctite. I got to pull this off, pull all the exhaust. I mean, some people just take off the 2 bolts and pull the cylinder head and the header at the same time, but I'm going to pull that off and have this come up. I mean, I might discover there's a reason why to pull the exhaust up instead, but I'm going to be different, see what I learn. Probably have a wiring problem on cylinder 2. Look at that. Well, I don't know how. I mean, that's a difficult fix. I'm just going to have to goober it with something that's non-conductive. Car problems got your head in the sand?
Be triumphant. You have a champion to help you. Huzzah!
Welcome to the D.E. Nichols channel. AutoBravado.com. As many of you have seen the exhaust rattle fix video, I had the, sorry, you're in a really tight space. I put a clamp around this to get rid of the rattle. Pretty difficult to see. You can make out at the bottom there where I've pushed it down to. Instead of totally taking it off, because I'll still need it when I'm done, is I just loosened it up and lowered it down below so that I don't have to fully take it apart and put it back together again. And on these are all 12 millimeters. I highly recommend Pittsburgh box handle wrench to take care of that. This exhaust header has to come off because until I do, the cylinder head can't come up and I can't diagnose the engine. People would say, well, why don't you do a leak down test? Well, when the engine can't turn over, how am I supposed to test anything? So I got to find what's seized. I haven't dropped a valve, so you know it remains a mystery. But I'm just gonna get down in there and take this shield off and then pull the exhaust. I've already pulled the intake. I've already pulled the cams out. Turns out I was filming on really low resolution for whatever reason. So, and look at how rusty these things are. Totally working late at night after work to work on this. So I'm glad I bought a bunch of those because I don't think I'm putting those rusty things back in because we know how frustrating those exhaust rattles were. But if you look back at the end, now you can't see that. This is kind of cool. These are the very first tools I ever bought since I got my outside of the work tools, even though I'm right outside of work. That way I can leave those at work. But my first tools for my very first jobs that I ever attempted when I was a very young man are now pulling my first exhaust off of an engine to diagnose an engine. That's memorable to me. I hope none of these break off. Okay. It was handy, but the socket wrench is not going to happen. for these. The socket wrench. Or the combination wrench that's ratcheting. That was on there too hard. I would be afraid of breaking it, so I'm using a more ordinary socket. I remember the last time I videotaped using this wrench. Was pretty infatuated with it, and then it misbehaved on camera. But it wasn't its fault. This power steering line caught on it and toggled it to go the other direction over and over again. You just got to protect your toggle switch, that's all. Oh, I see these. I see a split end on them. So these have like a self-retaining attribute. Well, anyway, you definitely don't need to watch all these come off. But they're nuts. They're 12 millimeter. And I bet, like the intake, these are also E7 to pull these studs so that the exhaust doesn't have to come way back. It can just sit where it is and let the cylinder head slide right out. I think that's the easy way. Ooh, I might have to go back to a box handle on that. Can't reach it otherwise. These top ones are best with the deep socketed 12. I'm tightening it a bit. Let's see if I can relieve some of the rusty stress, because I have never had to break these off before. It's tempting to wrap these exhaust tubes while I'm in here so that I never have to worry about an exhaust rattle again. It'll actually work better than heat shields, and it'll be a better conversation piece too. And you could argue weight savings, but the aluminum on the outside is pretty light. I'm pretty sure if I wrap it to keep the heat out of the engine bay better, it's going to be interesting. Now that'll help in the hottest of summers, but in the coldest of winters, whatever I do, I have to include the plan of welding on like a, and I don't even know how I do this because it's iron. I have to use some kind of clamping system. But I want a tube for my exhaust to go up to my intake just to carry heat during the winter, and I would uninstall that during the summer, since I know that that's what this car needs for maximum power. For you power heads, if you're efficiency minded, guess what? When I have the temperature right, it's for efficiency and power. There's no difference, at least on this particular debate. I've got a new friend who lives in Taiwan, who is from who's from somewhere in South America, I forget where, but he speaks, I think his first language is Portuguese. Anyway, I wondered how a Taiwanese gentleman had such great English. That's because Latino speakers of Spanish or Portuguese tend to learn English better than Chinese. No offense if I have a nice Cantonese speaking person watching the channel so far. Anyway, he really likes my cold air intake, hot air intake video, where I change it from the season. He stays cold air intake on his Honda Civic because he gets the best gas mileage. And I'm sure he gets more power too. He gave me a thumbs up for being right on that. Oh, looky here. I have one of the studs came with it. Hey, that's still a win. I'm not going to complain about that. One of the studs came with. It turns out all of them come off real easy with the deep 12. But this guy right here, he's a special extra story. So I'm going to title this video, How to Remove an Exhaust Header. Or I could throw in, if it hasn't lived in a salt belt. Since they're just all unscrewing off. I now live in a water belt, but thankfully I've only seen him salt roads once, and we were in shock. We're like, oh, it made a mess of our cars. Anyway, there's a gentleman that I should mention, kind of like Steve Robwood, that said I should buy, instead of deep and short, most of the time you can get away with something that's in between. And Carlisle makes them. You can buy them in Napa. Fantastic tools. The only problem I've ever had with them is misplacing one. And I replaced it with the Matco, and I actually had to warranty that 14mm right away. Next one seems to be strong. I guess they made a bad cast last time, but of course they warrantied it for me spot on, quick and easy. Aaron Helms, he said I can promote him. Actually, hey, we can throw his phone number in there if you're in the North Carolina area, and I can just use an extension instead of having to use a box handle. It's great. I have got the most mechanical service manager ever. He explained to me that he's seen it where transmissions will lock up and make it so that you can't turn an engine over. It could be that there is absolutely nothing wrong with this engine. That little misfire was just that tiny little wire, and I just pulled an engine apart just to have to put it back into time. Wow. Well, I need to know how to put an engine in time. I've never done it before. And he also suggested, hey, did you put it in neutral? Yeah. When the parking pawl is engaged, it would make it so that you can't turn the engine. Wow. Talk about missing an important basic. Oh, really? I certainly don't live in Utah anymore. You want to know what they did? I have this space for my backpack right now and my snacks while I work because they destroyed all the wiring in my battery. I have to replace it all. And they even were kind enough to give themselves extra coil length so that I don't. I'm so angry right now I couldn't even speak for a while. On the other hand, these kind of crackle when you start to release them with your M12. Really need a tripod for that, don't I? On the right is a T55. It appears to fit. I won't even try it. A little bit of wiggle. This takes tremendous force. I'm not going down that ride. Okay? Not even to try that. But they all release this hard because they're all torque to yield bolts. Get that silly tool out of the way. I was just trying to figure out what would fit. So T55 apparently is the equivalent, I would guess. I wouldn't risk it. He's one of the guys who's like, I got a cylinder head for you, when I thought I dropped a valve. And I clearly have all the valves. And he's like, but the head bolts around it all. Sorry, but how are you going to get these out if you screw up and don't do it right? Sorry, you're out of shot, but you can still hear me, right? Sorry, I'm way more friendly, but I'm really, really upset right now about someone breaking into my car and stealing my bag. Hey, my fuel started to leak out of the fuel rail. It's no longer clamped down. It should leak. I'm really lucky it won't, but it'll probably spray all over the place. Of course, once you break free, they're pretty easy, even with the wrong tool. Of course, this kind of tool doesn't really work. What you need is the long shake that's like $36 on Amazon. Sorry, I mean I could put a link there if you want, but guys, until you have a big channel, you can't really run Amazon, because all it does is take away from yourself. You have to have a big channel to make money on that. See? The short shank can't reach. So I need to go get a bigger adapter for my screwdriver gun to get them the rest of the way off. Tornado warning. So after this I'll be documenting where all my buckets came from off at the top of these valves, in case my car goes a-rocking. I mean, this tool grabs it so well that it wants to just come with. It's pretty cool. Okay, those are all ready to come out. Quick and easy with the right tools. Okay, I just now got to my cart. All the head bolts are out. I'll relive a moment for you that was really cool. I used a Judd Alice that they used to grip flesh in surgery. And so I used to be a surgical tech, and voila! It came out real easy. First start on grabbing the head of the bolt, and then slide under, and it comes up real easy. I don't know how much I recommend having surgical tools in your toolbox, but you know, I needed them when I was destroying the outside of an O2 sensor holder that wouldn't come apart. But I just learned from South Main Auto Repair on Brian's Mobile's last repair that you can get them apart sometimes if you heat them up with a heat gun. I bought it just because my buddy needs me to do some work, and I didn't want to boil water like Scotty Kilmer suggested. I thought, bring the heat with you instead, right? So there's just basically a few bolts holding this side piece on, which is keeping the cylinder head in at this point, because I've already got the intake and exhaust bolts pulled. Those are very simple and straightforward, and grateful they are, because I was recording in 320 by 480, and I didn't like those graphics very much. As soon as I had a Pentium, when I moved on from 486, I didn't want to play games that looked like that anymore. So I might want to pull the valve, and also, let me release you from your prison. I also might want to pull the cam sensor. The injectors are loose, so I think I can, if I can get that off with these injectors still keeping fuel pressure intact, I'm going to take it. Yeah, and I'm getting this thing towed to my house because I'm not having anyone steal anything else from me. Especially the work, the way they destroy the wiring when they pull the battery. Holy cow. I got no wiring left. Hydraulic tensioner for the serpentine belt has to come off. Can't believe how wet it's under here. I know it's raining, but wow. It's not raining that much. So everything associated with that hydraulic tensioner has to come. I believe before this can come, or maybe I can just do this one bolt. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Oh my gosh, it is really coming down now. It is not good out there, my friend. I'm not sure if I should really keep pulling the cylinder head at the moment, because it's going to rust all of my tools. Oh, this sucks so bad. Okay, on the intake side, in case a tornado disturbs it, for I2, I have bucket size 37 and 35. My exhaust rattle fix video